I am again thankful to all news media outlets for letting me use their contents. I greatly appreciate that. I am available 24/7 if they need any assistance. Now go to the headlines. Hi and very warm welcome at Amir Shackle 5858. I am Amir Shackle. Following news headlines have been reported by world major English news channels and news agencies. So please watch it.
Breaking news tonight, a helicopter carrying tourists crashes into the Hudson River in New York City, killing 6 people. The video's just coming in. The moment the chopper plunged into the river, witnesses describing its blades flying off before it dropped. The massive rescue effort off of Manhattan. Tonight, a closer look at helicopter tourism. Another aviation accident today, planes clipping wings at Reagan National. 6 members of Congress on board amid concerns that runway is just too packed. Markets plunge with that tariff confusion. The president now warning there will be a, quote, transition cost as his plans go into place. Pulled from the rubble, dramatic new video of a survivor rescued after that roof collapse in the Dominican Republic as the death toll soars past 200. Kidnapped in a U-Haul, the police chase caught on camera as they pursue a man who allegedly trapped 2 people in the back of his rental truck. The high-profile apology after this college student spoke exclusively to us on camera about a vicious rumor about her that went national. One of the big names whose platform helped spread it talks to us about why he regrets it. If you could talk to Mary Kate tonight, what would you tell her?
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester.
You could talk to Mary Kate tonight, what would you tell her?
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
And good evening. We are coming on the air tonight with breaking news. A deadly chopper crash in the Hudson River. It happened late today. A tourist helicopter carrying 5 people and 1 pilot suddenly plummeted into the water below. We're going to play for you now the moment it dropped from the sky. And we are pausing here before the moment of impact. What happened next was a furious rescue effort on one of the busiest waterways in the world. The scene reminiscent of the miracle on the Hudson 16 years ago near the same exact location. But the results today, far from a miracle. All 6 on board killed, including 3 children. A warning tonight, some of the images you're about to see are disturbing. Our team is on the scene of the crash, and Sam Brock joins us now live. Sam, they tried so hard to rescue those passengers.
Tom, good evening. That's right. According to authorities, divers were in the water within minutes of the call coming in. Over my shoulder, you can still see the flashing lights across the Hudson River. That's the scene as we're learning more about this family now that died, including 3 kids. The terrifying final moments of the helicopter flight were captured on video as it fell out of the sky and plunged into New York City's Hudson River.
We have multiple boats still in the water, conducting searches for any additional occupants of the aircraft.
It's images showing the chopper turned upside down in the water.
The
plane was turned around, sitting there in the water, almost like it was floating.
Tonight, authorities say the crash happened around 3:17 p.m., that 6 people were on board that flight, and there are no survivors.
According to the manifest, aboard the helicopter were 6 people. 1 pilot, 2 adults, and 3 children.
The mayor saying it was a tourist sightseeing flight with a family from Spain on board that had taken off from Lower Manhattan.
I have the entire family members. We lifting them up in prayer.
We were met by the first responders and they told us they did everything they can to try to save these victims. And you can see the trauma on their face.
Dominic Cognata was walking to a flag football game on Manhattan's West Side when he witnessed the crash. What did you say?
So I just happened to be walking and I heard it sounded like an engine just dying, and it was like doo 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 doo, and I just turned, I looked, and I saw the helicopter crash and splash into the water.
On this Thursday night from Whitehorse, Arctic sovereignty and security under threat. The promise to protect the region as Canada tries to play catch-up.
It seems that everybody else around the world understands how important it is.
And what Canada's Inuit expect.
We want to be a part of this moment.
Soaring stocks and suspicions why the U.S. president is accused of insider trading. On the campaign trail, how the Liberals are pledging to get tougher on crime, and how the Conservative leader is brushing off plummeting poll numbers. And like a good neighbor, Yukon is there.
I forget that it's a whole different country.
What Alaskans are afraid of losing.
Global National with Donna Friesen, reporting tonight from Whitehorse.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us. We are overlooking the Yukon River on the traditional territory of the Kwanlin Dun First Nation and the Tan-Quechan Council. We're here to talk about Arctic sovereignty and security. There's long been heightened awareness about those issues here. Now the rest of Canada is starting to pay attention. America is no longer a reliable partner. Russia is building up its military capability in the Arctic. China calls itself a near-Arctic nation now. All of it has thrust Canada's north into the geopolitical spotlight. It's hard to grasp the size of Canada's Arctic region. At 1.4 billion square kilometers, it makes up 40% of Canada's landmass. And it's at an inflection point. The U.S. president is talking about annexing Canada and Greenland.
Mark, we need that for international security, not just security, international.
The Chinese are now using these routes. We know that the Russians are in the army. We know we have a lack of icebreakers.
Canada's political leaders are paying attention.
We must invest in Canada's north to defend our sovereignty.
All three major party leaders visited the Arctic earlier this year before the election campaign. The Liberals promised a $6 billion radar system, plus investments in military infrastructure and improvements to Inuit communities.
Canadians will take back control of their Arctic.
The Conservative leader promised a sophisticated military base in Iqaluit within 2 years. The NDP is also pledging more investments in the military and support for Arctic communities.
Senior Counselor for Trade and Manufacturing, Peter Navarro, is here. All right, Peter. Wall Street hates you. There's probably a fatwa out on you on the street downtown. Do you care? Does the administration care? How is the relationship between you guys in the street?
Well, we love Wall Street, Jesse, but we love Main Street a whole lot better. And look, this president, Donald John Trump, is going to have the most miraculous 100 days of any president in history. But now, on top of that, we're going to have the most impressive 90 days negotiating trade deals that you've ever seen in your life, all to the benefit of America. And what's so cool about this, Jesse, is that the president took the strongest of stands. He imposed reciprocal tariffs on them. He charged them what they've been cheating us. And the fact that they're lining up is an acknowledgement, first and foremost, of the cheating. And it's going to be a way of clawing back billions upon billions of dollars. You know, we're taking in a couple of $1 billion a day now in the tariffs alone. We used to ship out $4 billion a day because of the trade deficit. And it's the art of the reciprocal trade deal. Yesterday, I think will go down in history as the greatest day in trade policy we've ever had. I mean, it's just amazing what's going to happen. But I should say, Jesse, I want to put a shout out to Speaker Mike Johnson today, because everything we do on trade is going to be complemented by other things. And today, the fact that Speaker Johnson got that budget resolution passed essentially paves the way for the biggest, broadest tax cut in our history to be done before August. So all these talks about recession and this, that, and the other thing, I mean, the biggest insurance policy against any kind of recession is going to be that tax bill. And every dollar, Jesse, every single dollar, I promise you, that we raise from foreign nations, from the tariffs, is going to go back to Americans in the form of tax cuts and in the form of debt reduction. And
there's a lot of weapons in the arsenal.
Even if Wall Street hates me.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I mean, you got energy, you got rates coming down, you got the tax regs like it's ending nicely. Or maybe it's just beginning. Who knows? Peter, do you want to kill China? Is that thing? You just kind of want to get them to play by the rules? Tonight, a helicopter into the Hudson, children on board. The breaking news just coming in. The rotor reportedly snapping off and the chopper spiraling into the water. Rescue crews responding in just moments. Authorities say tourists were on board. We will be live with the latest. Stock market whiplash 24 hours after record gains. Stocks down again today. The sell-off coming after Trump continues his trade war with China. The president dismissing the plunging markets during today's cabinet meeting.
We had a big day yesterday. There will always be transition difficulty, but we had in history, it was the biggest day in history of the markets. So we're very, very happy with the way the country's running.
Elon Musk in the room despite his public feud with top Trump advisor Peter Navarro. And tonight, the death toll soaring in that tragic roof collapse at an iconic nightclub in the Dominican Republic. At least 9 Americans now among the 221 reported dead. Victor Oquendo is standing by with late reporting from Santo Domingo. Back at home, authorities investigating how a convicted killer sentenced to life in prison was mistakenly released from jail. And this isn't the first time this has happened at the same Georgia prison. The chaotic scene, an author and wife of a rock star shot and wounded in front of her home. Officers say she pointed a gun at them. Plus,
I thought I'd still be in a classroom teaching little third graders. Instead, you're taking on Google, Amazon, McDonald's.
the group of nuns no stranger to telling corporations what to think. And
having a pet is hard? Oh my God.
But it's a great journey.
The documentary exploring the unique relationship between humans and our pets.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is
Dreadful Economy Explained. Liberté, égalité, actualité.
Good morning, I'm Oliver Ferry, and this is Daybreak. After an initial bounce, more turmoil as US markets have a torrid day Thursday, with investor confidence still shaken by Donald Trump's trade war, despite the US president putting his tariffs on most of the world on hold for 90 days. Trump himself admits there is a transition cost to the tariffs. A meeting of European defence ministers in Brussels outlines plans for peacekeeping forces to be sent to Ukraine in the event of a peace deal, but ministers say more needs to be done and a US security guarantee is still needed, something Washington has yet to commit to. We'll be speaking to Dave Keating in Brussels. Some 1,000 Israeli Air Force staff, mostly reservists, publish an open letter calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and for all the remaining hostages to be released. The Israeli military has said it will dismiss the signatories to the letter, which further underlines discontent with Benjamin Netanyahu's government. After initial relief, US stocks sank sharply again on Thursday, offsetting some of the huge gains that followed President Donald Trump's decision on Wednesday to postpone many of his sweeping tariffs. The turmoil shows that investors are still unsure of what the mercurial president's
Radio votes.
Today, the Prime Minister says he's contacted Peter Dutton following reports the opposition leader was the target of a terror plot.
Reached out to Peter Dutton this morning. The number of threats that have been made to parliamentarians has increased.
The Australian share market falls again as Donald Trump's trade war with China escalates. Another aviation disaster in the US, a family of 5 and a pilot killed after their helicopter plunged into the Hudson River. And human error blamed for a major IVF blunder. A patient gives birth to a stranger's baby after being implanted with the wrong embryo. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. The opposition leader says politics is a brutal business after reports he was the target of an alleged terror plot. The Australian newspaper has reported a 16-year-old from Brisbane is facing terror charges over the alleged plan. The Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, says he's reached out to Mr Dutton. It hasn't stopped the opposition leader from campaigning though, and we are standing by to hear from him shortly in Perth. But first, political reporter Jake Evans filed this report from a business leaders breakfast where Mr Dutton spoke earlier today.
Yes, opposition leader Peter Dutton, addressing a crowd of business leaders here in Perth today, did make a brief mention of this alleged plot targeting him. What we heard overnight is that a Queensland teenager has been charged over this alleged plot targeting opposition leader Peter Dutton. Now, the ABC hasn't confirmed those reports, but Liberal Senator James Paterson did this morning identify Mr Dutton as the subject of this alleged threat. by a teenager who police say, I should be clear, police alleged in court had researched bomb-making instructions, had purchased explosive ingredients and allegedly had tested homemade explosives. Police alleging that.
Good afternoon, it's 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 in New Delhi and 11 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Ilakia Silveraji. Your headlines this hour. Asian markets tumble. The STI falls more than 2%. Japan's Nikkei 225 and South Korea's Kospi all down. The global trade landscape reeling as the US-China tariff war deepens. The White House clarifies China's tariff rate is 145%. That includes a fentanyl-linked levy. But President Donald Trump says he is still open to securing a deal with Beijing. And
we've seen aid blockaded. We have had aid workers interrogated, extorted. We have a conscription program in which young people are terrified that they're going to be put into military service.
The UN expert tells CNA that Myanmar's military is weaponizing relief supplies in its attempt to consolidate power in the country ahead of elections promised later this year. US President Donald Trump has acknowledged transition difficulties and costs due to his tariffs, but he insists it will be, quote, a beautiful thing, though not so much for China. The White House says the tariff on Chinese imports is actually 145%, not 125, after adding an earlier 20% linked to the fentanyl issue. But the president is convinced that he can strike a deal with Beijing.
We're resetting the table, and I'm sure that we'll be able to get along very well. I have great respect for President Xi. He's been, in a true sense, he's been a friend of mine for a long period of time, and I think that we'll end up working out something that's very good for both countries.
Mr. Trump held his first cabinet meeting since the latest rollout of tariffs. He has not ruled out extending the 90-day pause on higher reciprocal levies, which does not apply to China. Beijing maintains the door to dialogue is open.
谈大门敞开，但对话必须在相互尊重的基础上，以平等方式进行。打，中方也将奉陪到底。施压、威胁和讹诈，不是同中方打交道的正确方式。
Well, the open door to Hollywood movies, though, is shrinking. China will reduce their imports, which is usually 10 a year. The film administration saying excessive tariffs diminish the Chinese audience's favorable perception of American films. President Trump shrugged off the move.
What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things.
Investors are focused on increased trade confidence.
Good morning. A Labour rebellion brewing as the Prime Minister refuses to launch a national inquiry into rape gangs.
As another shocking tale of negligence comes to light in a GB News exclusive.
A career crime fighter threatened with arrest for tracking down child abusers. This is former Detective Chief Inspector John Picos.
More MPs implore the Home Secretary to take action to right this historic wrong.
KCJ report back over a decade ago, which concluded that one of the reasons that wasn't dealt with strongly enough was because of fears of being racist. Now, that cannot happen again.
The moment tragedy struck, a helicopter falls from the sky over New York City, killing a family of 5 and the pilot.
Prince Harry makes a surprise visit to Ukraine to meet war victims after his court hearing in London over security concerns.
Donald Trump insiders put a wedge between Britain and a trade deal, claiming the White House will accept nothing less than an extraordinary offering.
Again, there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
The battalions queued from early in the morning for a chance to meet the King and Queen in Ravenna.
Ciao for now. The King and Queen bid farewell to Italy after a historic state visit.
Couldn't end to the Birmingham bin strikes be in sight, while Angela Rayner is begging workers to put an end to the misery now.
And sport this morning, well, in football, all three teams drawing the Europa League last night. In golf, after the first round of the Masters, Britain's Justin Rose leads the pack as Rory makes a few late errors. And with the boat race of the weekend, teams will be able to dunk their coxes into the Thames. One has to be very careful about how one says these things.
It's another dry and sunny day across the UK, but it's not going to last. More unsettled weather arrives this weekend. After the full details in the forecast coming up soon.
It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Sudan accused the United Arab Emirates at the United Nations highest court on Thursday, alleging that it is violating the Genocide Convention by providing arms and financial support to the rebel paramilitary group known as the Rapid Support Forces committing crimes against the Masalit people in the Darfur area.
The direct logistic and other support that the UAE has provided and continue to provide it to the RSF and their affiliated militia has been continue to be the primary driving force behind genocide now taking place.
Sudan seeks to have the International Court of Justice issue urgent provisional measures directing the UAE to take all necessary actions to prevent violence and other crimes against the Masalit people in Darfur. 10 Palestinians detained by Israeli troops in Gaza were released on Thursday, revealing they faced continuous abuse while imprisoned. The men wearing grey sweatpants and shirts were taken to a hospital in Deir al-Bala, where their families were waiting to welcome them. This is the first release since the war resumed in mid-March. Since November 6, a total of 156 days of suffering. We faced relentless torment and pain with no moments of rest or sleep. Each day brought new trials of oppression and humiliation. We thank God for our safe return. The released Palestinians were mostly detained from the northern Gaza Strip and held in a military prison camp known for abuses during Israel's last offensive before the January ceasefire. 24 hours of beatings, and they stripped us of our clothes. They humiliated us and made us sit on stones. Our feet were bleeding. We were oppressed. The prisoners did not sleep. They only allowed us to shower once every month or two. In March, a 17-year-old died at Megiddo prison, likely from starvation. According to the Palestinian authorities, at least 61 Palestinians have died in Israeli prisons since the war started.
Egypt's foreign minister said Thursday that his country remains opposed to the displacement of Palestinians at a press conference in Cairo. Badr Abdelati gave his remarks after meeting his Hungarian counterpart. Israel resumed its war on Gaza on March 18 after an 8-week ceasefire. I emphasized to His Excellency the Egyptian absolute rejection and that it is considered an Egyptian Jordanian red line regarding the acceptance of forced, non-forced, temporary or permanent displacement of Palestinians, and that there is no chance to achieve safety and stability for Israel or the region without the Palestinian people gaining their legitimate rights and the establishment of their country on the borders of 1967. UN agencies and aid organizations this week warned of a potential famine outbreak in Gaza. For nearly 40 days, Israel has blocked any form of humanitarian aid from entering Gaza.
President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria is attempting to restructure the ailing oil sector while national production is at an all-time low and crude oil prices are in freefall following the announcement of Donald Trump's new tariffs. A week ago, the Nigerian head of state dismissed a dozen top executives of the national oil company NNPC, and on Wednesday, the Nigerian Ministry of Finance announced that the policy of selling crude oil and refined products in Naira will continue as long as it benefits public interest and national economic goals. Recently, a conflict arose between the national oil company and billionaire Aliko Dangote, who halted fuel sales on the local market due to dollar payments, causing gasoline prices to rise. Following the dismissal of the 11 executives, new leadership aims to improve the company's operations.
What you're seeing is archive footage from actually Barbara's recent exhibition, Suspended States at the Gallery. The acclaimed is now bringing his thought-provoking work to Antananarivo with a brand new solo show at Foundation H opening on the 11th of April. Titled Safiotra, the exhibition explores
causing prices to rise. Following the dismissal of the 11 executives, new leadership aims to improve the company's operations.
What you're seeing isn't Madagascar, but archive footage from Yinka Shonibare's recent exhibition, Suspended States, at London's Serpentine Gallery. The acclaimed Anglo-Nigerian artist is now bringing his thought-provoking work to Antananarivo with a brand new solo show at Foundation H opening on the 11th of April. Titled Safiotra, the exhibition explores identity, particularly how it's shaped, reshaped and questioned in a post-colonial world. The central material in Shonibare's practice is wax fabric, Dutch-printed, Javanese-inspired and African-adopted. Through it, he explores appropriation, belonging and hybridity. Preparations are underway at Foundation H, where early glimpses include a wax-covered astronaut carrying Malagasy cultural symbols like the valiha on his back, a bold metaphor for the journey towards a new hybrid identity. To mark the occasion, Foundation H is hosting 2 days of events including expert panels, slam poetry by Orad, and a performance titled Beyond Borders.
Thank you very much for giving time to Amir Shekel 5858. I am Amir Shekel. Have a good life. Bye-bye.